All right, let's dive into a really fascinating evolutionary mystery. Out on the islands of the Caribbean, there's this weird pattern with the local lizards that had scientists scratching their heads for years. You can think of it like a classic whodunit, but, instead of detectives, we've got biologists, and all the clues are written in their DNA.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this little investigation. We'll start with the mystery itself, then we'll meet the key players. After that, we'll check out the competing theories, analyze the evidence, and finally, we'll get to the big reveal, the solution, and why it's so important.
So what is this big puzzle all about? Well, picture this. On the big islands in the Caribbean, we're talking Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, Jamaica, and Cuba, which are all separated by a whole lot of ocean, we keep finding these groups of lizards, called anoles, that look and act almost exactly the same.
And I mean, just look at this. The resemblance is seriously uncanny. On the left, you've got a lizard from Hispaniola, and right there next to it is its spitting image from Puerto Rico. And on the right, same story, different pair of lookalikes. It's wild. It's like watching the same cast of characters performing the exact same play, just on totally different stages.
So that brings us to the big question at the heart of this whole scientific detective story. How is that even possible? Did one type of lizard evolve once and then somehow manage to island hop across the ocean? Or did something even crazier happen?
To crack this case, we first have to get to know our key players, the different types of anole lizards. And these guys aren't just your average lizards. They are highly trained specialists, each with a very particular set of skills.
In fact, scientists have a special word for these guys: ecomorphs. The easiest way to think about an ecomorph is like a job description in nature. It's a bunch of species that have similar bodies, similar behaviors, and live in the same type of spot, even if they're not actually close relatives. And this drawing just shows it perfectly. On every single one of these islands, you find the same exact specialists. You've got your trunk crown anoles living way up high in the trees, these super skinny twig anoles that can navigate tiny branches, long-legged trunk ground anoles that hunt at the base of trees, and then the quick grass bush anoles that zip through the undergrowth.
Let's just look at the data for a sec, because this is where it gets really cool. It's a textbook example of form following function. The twig anoles, they have super short legs, which helps them balance and move around on those skinny little twigs without falling off. But the trunk ground anoles, they've got really long legs, which are perfect for sprinting across the ground to catch an insect or run away from a bird. Every single body type is basically a perfect solution to a specific problem in their environment.
Now, every good mystery has a few competing theories, right? Well, in the case of the anoles, biologists had two main suspects for how these identical-looking ecomorphs wound up on totally separate islands.
Okay, so hypothesis number one is the single origin idea. It basically says that, for instance, a twig anole evolved just one time, on one island, and then somehow its babies managed to get across the open ocean and set up shop on the other islands. Hypothesis number two, though, is the independent evolution idea. It suggests something way more radical, that some ancestor lizard got to each island, and then, on each island, completely on its own, the whole set of ecomorphs evolved from scratch.
So, how in the world do you test something like that? Well, you look at their family tree, which you build using DNA evidence. If hypothesis 1 is right, all the twig anoles from all the islands should be close cousins, all clumped together on the family tree. But if hypothesis 2 is the real story, then family ties should be based on location. All the lizards from Puerto Rico, for example, should be each other's closest relatives, no matter what they look like.
All right, it's time to bring in the forensic evidence. By sequencing the DNA of all these anoles, scientists could build a really accurate family tree and finally see which one of our suspects was telling the truth.
But before we get to the big reveal, here's a super quick guide on how to read these things. Just think of it like your own family tree. The tips of the branches are like you and your cousins. The spots where the branches join up, those are your shared ancestors, like your grandparents. And the one rule you have to know is simple. The closer the branches are to each other, the more closely related they are. That's it.
Okay, you ready? Here's the first piece of evidence. This is the real family tree, with the branches colored by ecomorph, by what the lizards look like. Now, if the single origin idea were right, all the yellows would be together, all the browns together, you get the idea. But as you can plainly see, it's a complete mess. The different ecomorphs are just scattered all over the place. This is not looking good for hypothesis number 1.
But now for the big reveal. Let's take that exact same tree, but this time let's color the branches based on which island the lizard lives on. And bam! Just like that, this beautiful crystal clear pattern just pops out. All the lizards from Jamaica form their own little group. All the lizards from Puerto Rico form their own group. And same for Hispaniola. This changes everything.
And this slide just puts it all together, side by side. On the right, the tree colored by ecomorph type is a total jumble. On the left, the very same tree, colored by island, shows these perfect, distinct family groups. The DNA evidence is absolutely overwhelming. An anole from Hispaniola is way more closely related to other anoles from Hispaniola, even if they look nothing alike, than it is to its identical twin from Puerto Rico.
So, with the evidence all in, the case is officially solved. Hypothesis number 2, independent evolution, is the clear winner. And this whole phenomenon has a name, and it's one of the most powerful and, frankly, coolest concepts in all of biology.
It's called convergent evolution. It's what happens when totally different species in different places face similar challenges and, through natural selection, independently end up with the same solution. It's like they all converge on the same answer.
This picture shows exactly how it happened. An ancestor lizard showed up on Puerto Rico, and a different one showed up on Hispaniola. On each island, the same jobs were available. You had high canopies, narrow twigs, open ground. And on each island, evolution basically ran the same experiment and got the same results, producing the same set of specialists to fill those jobs.
So now we can piece together the whole history. Step 1, an ancestor anole makes its way from the mainland over to the islands. Step 2, those new populations get isolated on each island, so they can't breed with each other anymore. And Step 3, on each separate island, they diversified into that same cast of characters we see today to fill all the empty jobs in the ecosystem. Okay, so, case closed. But why is this story so important? I mean, why do scientists get so excited about these lizards and call the Caribbean a perfect natural experiment?
It's because these islands are basically separate natural laboratories. It's like a scientist getting to run the same experiment 4 different times to see if they get the same result. And they did. The fact that the same ecomorphs evolved over and over and over again is just powerful, powerful evidence that evolution isn't just a bunch of random accidents. If you have the same conditions, you can actually get predictable results. So let's just recap the key findings here. We've learned that these ecomorphs are distinct specialists. We know the DNA evidence proves that the lizards are related by island, not by their body type. We've seen that this pattern is the textbook definition of convergent evolution. And all of that makes these lizards one of the best examples of evolution in action that we have. Which leaves us with a pretty mind-blowing final question. Evolution literally hit the repeat button 4 times in the Caribbean. So where else in the world might this incredible process be happening right now, right under our noses? If you enjoyed solving this puzzle with us, do us a huge favor and hit that like button. And be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the amazing world of science. Thanks for watching.